So we are now going to deal with the part 1 session. So if you remember, I spoke to you all about the part 1 session as to how it's going to be a general discussion. The examiner would be questioning you about your interest, your hobby. Okay, so it's a personal discussion there. So I'm going to put up a few examples. Okay, so let's begin with the first example. I'm going to give you a question and the answer. See, it's not that you should speak only this. Okay, it would be better if you can present your answer like what I am going to give, like the example that I am going to give it to you. So before I read out the answer for you, I am going to present the example on the board for your reference, and then we shall have a discussion about the first example. So my first question goes like this. When do you get time to pursue your hobbies? So as I said, being part 1, this is a general discussion, okay? So a personal round. So this is an often asked question, okay? So what can be the expected answer? Let's see now. I can say, my hobbies are reading books. I can mention more than one hobby, right? So reading books and listening to music. We have more to go. So what I want to emphasize or insist here is, look at my question. My question is, when do you get time to pursue your hobbies? The examiner did not ask me what your hobbies are, right? So he's asking me, when do you get time? But instead of directly telling the examiner when I get time to pursue my hobbies, I first tell him what my hobbies are. Before I could say when I do it, I always tell him what my hobbies are, and then I start discussing about it in detail. So this is something that I want you to clearly understand or make a note of. I can pursue both of these at my workplace and at home. So here I'm going to tell him where are the possible which are the possible places where I can practice or pursue my hobbies. So I have answered his question, workplace and home. And please note, I am not going to stop here. I'm going to give some more information. So that is more expected by the examiner from the candidate. I take small breaks of a few minutes at my office to pursue my hobbies. So if you look at my third line or the third sentence, I'm trying to justify my point, okay? I've told him I can pursue both of these at my workplace and at home. So immediately the examiner might ask you, at workplace, how can you or how do you manage to listen to music or read books at your workplace. So you need to justify that. So even before the examiner could ask that, I am justifying my stand. I'm telling him that I find time, in small breaks. By having small breaks, I just take a short break off from my regular routine of work, and that is when that is the time I make use for pursuing my hobbies. So I have justified how or what I do at my workplace. Now let me justify my point what I do at home also, because I've given him two options. I've told him I do them at workplace and at home. So now I have justified my workplace. Let me justify the point why I said at home. What do I do? How do I do it at home? However, I get more time for them at home. During weekends and on holidays. So I stop my answer here. So my last point tells me, see, I do find time at my workplace, but of course I know that is not enough. I find more time when I'm at home, especially during my weekends and on holidays. So here you need to check how detailed my answer is, or how detailed my explanation to one question is. The question just says, when do you get time to pursue your hobbies? I did not just say, okay, I do it during the weekends. I did not just say, okay, I do it at my workplace. I do it at my home. No, I have given him a clear explanation. I have told the examiner that I have first informed him, or first tell him what my hobbies are before I tell him how I pursue my hobbies. So sometimes you might get such questions where the examiner directly asks you questions like this: what do you do generally during your free time? Or how do you manage to go ahead with your hobbies? So before I tell him how I manage to pursue my hobbies, I definitely got to tell him what my hobbies are. Do not expect the examiner to ask a question what your hobbies are and then ask you a question about like how do you pursue them. So when he asks you how you pursue your hobbies, if in case previously you had a chat where he had asked you what your hobbies are and you had told him, well and good, you need not mention this point here. But if in case such a question was not asked and directly he goes to this question, make sure you first tell him what your hobbies are. Don't expect him to post another question by directly just telling him when do you pursue your hobbies without mentioning what your hobbies are, right? So then I have mentioned the two different places, like how I do it in my workplace and at home. And I have not stopped there. I have also justified my stance, okay? So I take small breaks of a few minutes at my office to pursue my hobbies. So that means I do not do it full time at workplace, because obviously that's going to give a very negative approach, negative impact if you're going to say I'm going to listen to music and read two books when I'm at my office or at my workplace, right? So you're going to justify and tell them I take short breaks, small breaks, just to relax myself, and those few minutes I make use to listen to music or to read some books. And then you can also mention then which is the exact place, how do you exactly pursue your hobbies, when do you really have time for all those things. So that is when I talk about doing it at home. And I can also say I do it during the weekends or during the holidays or in the evenings, whatever. So this is one example as to how you can answer the examiner when he asks you a personal question in part 1.